Thank you. I thought the idea for today was that all of you were invited to share your story about failure. I used to be an active member of the BNO in Utrecht, been a while, and in the 90s we had an event called Design Horror. And there we invited a lot of sort of famous the well-known Dutch designers to share their most important failure, or the biggest failure, and it was a huge success. And I said to Carlijn and to Mike, would be nice to have something like this morning. So a lot of you, or 5, 6 stories, telling about a failure in the business. And eventually last week I heard that I'm the only one. So perhaps you can provide me with some confidence. Has anybody ever had a design failure, a big one, whether it's with a client or with something that was really awful? Got one over there, one here, one there. Wow, thanks a lot. Makes me feel really good. So I'm going to talk a little bit about failure, and actually the main thing is talk about failure with a client we had. It was an not paying client, but I'll talk about it later. And like Mike said, I'm from 31 Volts. We're a design company where we help organizations who are really struggling with making failures, and in that sense struggling with making progress, to help them innovate through design. I got a clicker. So this is me in 1996. I graduated at the HKU here in Utrecht with the design of a bicycle. It's mainly cardboard, and the aluminium part, it's not regular tubes that you can buy in the shop, so I needed a company that was able to make this for me. And there was this one company, you all know it, Fokker Aircraft, and they had like one machine, the only machine in the Netherlands, to press aluminum in forms in any shape you like with really cheap molds, so it didn't need much investment. And for me, it was a success because I graduated. It's a nice bike. I had a good story to tell. I still got it. And then this happened.
Van uitstel kwam uiteindelijk dan dus toch afstel. Fokker is failliet. En daarmee komt een einde aan 77 jaar vliegtuigbouw in Nederland.
So the running joke was that my bike was the last product that came out of the factory. But the thing is, it was, in that sense, a big failure, because my sponsor, a guy called Simon, he didn't sponsor me because he liked the bike, he didn't sponsor me because he liked me, maybe he did, but he thought that, okay, if I hire a designer and he's got something really fancy to show off, then we can go with this bike to Dutch bicycle industry and show off, look, this is what we can do. So they make, in this factory, they make aircraft parts which disappear in a wing and nobody sees it anymore. And of course the plane flies, but all the craftsmanship is not to be seen anymore. And it was like, okay, we can use design for that. And it took me a while, this one we can skip, it took me a while to understand that this was the case. It's not about the bike, but it's about the strategic value of design and the strategic value of designers. And that is what we do at 31 Volts. We are a service design company, so most of our clients are in service providers. KLM, for example, is one of them, again in the aircraft industry. And what they find really hard is making failures, and in that sense, making progress. So we help them with design by learning, by doing, by experimenting. I can give you an example. We had one project also a while ago, and we suggested an experiment to do, and the client said, okay, are you sure this is going to work? And then we said, no, we're not sure. And then she said, well, maybe we should try. And that's not normal. I think for a lot of clients that's not normal, but it's the way to go. So failure, I think, is really important. The failure in design is as an aspect of design is as important. And it's called design thinking. Anybody heard about the term design thinking? Right. Okay. But because our clients are not really into design, or not really into creating new things, they're into management mainly, so maintaining what's already there and making it as effective as possible. We got like this toolbox, everybody's got it, it's design thinking, or they call it design thinking. We call it just design, our clients call it design thinking, there are books about it. And it's mainly to explore, to have tools to listen to clients, or maybe not listen, but try and understand what people do. Creating new ideas, lots of them, most of them of course will not make it all the way to the end, but this helps organizations change. And a good example, I think, when it comes to failure, because in business they talk about we need to fail often, is like an architectural firm. If you go there, you see the loads of models, and most of them won't make it to the end product. But it's normal for us, I think, for designers to make models, to make experiments, to make prototypes. And one of the things we do is the Marshmallow Challenge. Anybody ever heard about the Marshmallow Challenge? Not that many. Okay. For us, for example, the Marshmallow Challenge is a way of talking to our clients without talking that much. To help them understand what design really is. So for the people who don't ever heard about the Marshmallow Challenge, the idea is to build a tower with a group, which is as high as possible, with one marshmallow on top. And what you see happening is that sometimes you got a group and people talk about it for, you got 18 minutes. So people talk about it 15, 16 minutes, then they're going to build something and they fail. And this has been done worldwide with loads of different groups. And it turns out that creatives and engineers are really good at it, but also children. Because they're going to try something and they fail. And they try again and they fail. And they try again and they fail. And eventually in 18 minutes they got a tower which is the highest of what is possible. So fail often to succeed sooner, or this is what we call it, it's more specific. Fail often so you can succeed sooner is like the mantra of design thinking, of design. And I do agree, however, it never ever should apply to the way you deal with your clients. So making mistakes with your clients and iterate, not a good thing. And I'm going to show you an example, which we did. Where we had multiple signals, multiple situations in which we should have said, this tower is going to fail, the marshmallow is not going up, we should quit. Or try something else. And the example is the following. We have been part of a program a few years ago with different service design companies, with Technical University Delft, with Hogeschool Utrecht. And the idea was doing cases, doing projects, to show off what service design can do for people. So try and make learnings, got researchers around us, seeing what happened, and write it down into a book. You can download it, I think, for free. It's worth to read. And we were related to our client, which was not a real client, and that was an association of the Utrecht Musea. There were like 10 of them, and they organized themselves. They got a new director, and the idea was to help them grow the business. Something like that. So there was not a real challenge, do this for us or do that. And this was our first encounter with them, because we got the money in the sense that we had time to spend. And if somebody approaches you and say, okay, you're here to bring money, you're here to give me your creative power, not quite sure if that's the good thing. Maybe you should have a different conversation at that moment. And secondly, which sort of relates to it, is our business to grow from a lot of visitors to even more visitors. I've translated that for myself to I've got this car, and next year it should have been bigger. It should be a bigger car. So the incentive to grow, check, not a problem with it, but mainly monetary, mainly about volume, is maybe, I don't know how you think about it, but for creatives, it's not where the real value is created. That's what we had, at least I had some trouble with it. So it's no problem to be more rich, get more cars or more bicycles or more triathlons. That's not the incentive. We should have quit. The other thing is you've got an association with a director, and you have 10 museums and they also have directors. And then we came up with a plan which had to go to the one director, and then he went to the other ones, and they see him once a month. And that means that after 5 months, we were like here. I think it's kind of smart, but I still have no idea what you do. So then again, it's really, really important to teach your client what you do and what the value of creativity is and the value of design. And you can talk about it, but we use the Marshmallow Challenge, we use different things in order to teach them to be a good client. And that helps us, and helps them too. With a strategy, of course, with a plan, what we were going to do. And one of them is a research plan which didn't work out. We tested it, didn't work out. And you might encounter clients like these and they said, well, sorry, but this is what we agreed on. You're going to do this. And we were like, yeah, but it's not going to work. We did something which was far more interesting, far more fun. We had an intern, who's already also here today, and he followed people around in the city. That's nice, it's a nice story. I'm going to tell it to you, because otherwise it's all about failure. The thing is, the museum directors, they wanted us to help them make people more interested in going to museums. And they think that we all go to a museum. And that's not the case. We're going to visit a city, we're going to do things with our friends and go to a museum. We're going to explore new art or new things. And we're going to explore the city. So you got a whole day and a few hours in the museum. So Auke, our intern, he went out in the street, followed people around, first exiting the museum, and afterwards he was really good in finding out people who he thought would go to a museum. And eventually it's not that hard. But it turns out that you can learn a lot about it. And it turns also out that the value the museum, the client could create for us as people, is not in the museum itself, because they're really good at it anyway. But it's about making sure that you have a really nice day in Utrecht. And that meant that we had to change our plan. But they said, sorry, but that's not a plan. We had an agreement, right? We should have bailed out. And this continued and continued and continued. And I think maybe 10 times that I thought, well, we should just quit, and we didn't. So my biggest learning was quit on time. If your values don't match your clients, just quit. I mean, it's maybe hard and it costs you money, etc. Just quit. And especially, I think, when you think you can help them, and they think otherwise. Because that may be the case. For example, one of the museums, he said, okay, we got a new train station at Ledererf. Leidse Rijn, I think it's called. Nee? Vaartse Rijn, I think it's called. Can we make like a red carpet from there to the museum, that people go in really quickly, spend their money and go home again?
They like to call it Station Museum Corner. That
I
was
know.
their suggestion.
And they were too late.
Yeah.
They were already, I mean, the museum, the station has been in talk since 1995, I think, and if they're going to complain in 2007, it's a bit late. Anyway, value, right? It's all about value. And if you think you can help them and they think otherwise, then just quit. And the lessons, I think for you, maybe not. I'm not sure who am I to tell you anything. Make sure that your client understands what designers do. You can talk to them, you can also take them with you on a journey. Be creative, be active, be interactive, to tell them what it is that you do. Well, that's two bullet points in one sentence. So that's it. Thanks very much, and good luck.